So today we're going to be talking about how to invest in the S&P 500. I'm going to break things down really simple and easy for you. So if you're a complete beginner when it comes to investing and you keep hearing all about investing in the S&P 500, I'm going to show you in this video how to do just that. Now, as I go through this, I'm going to also have my phone right over here in real time so you can actually follow along as we go through these steps, because I'm going to help you set this all up. And this is going to be so simple that you're not going to have to worry about your investment on a day-to-day basis. We're going to set this up for you to succeed without having to pay attention all the time. Now, the first thing we need to kind of go over really quick is the actual S&P 500, and just kind of giving a brief synopsis. This is effectively the top 500 companies in the US. Now, there are funds out there that will just copy what the S&P does. And what this really means, so you could see right over here, this company, Vanguard, very popular, very well-known company, pretty much does that same thing with the top 500 companies. And they have a ticker called VOO, which is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. Now, this is what's so beautiful about an ETF is that it pretty much houses the top 500 companies, sometimes a little bit more, all together into one fund. So it makes it a lot safer for you when it comes to investing. And the best part is you do not have to be paying attention to this stuff on a day-to-day basis. If a company falls out of that top 500 and some other company goes into it, this fund will do it all for you. Now, there are fees associated with this, but it's nothing that comes out of your pocket. It's on the back end. And Vanguard, honestly, is some of the lowest fees. Now, one thing I do have to put as a caveat into this video is that I am not recommending this particular fund. There are other ones out there that do mimic the S&P 500 as a whole. So just something to keep in mind. Now, like I mentioned, there are a bunch of companies. And just as a quick example, some of the top companies in here are going to be companies you probably already know, such as Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Google. You could see right over here a bunch of these companies that you already know. So you're going to be investing in all of these all at once. Now, you might be thinking really quick too, you saw a price tag up here of $559.01 as of this recording, and that might be quite a bit. Now, what's really cool about what we're going to be showing you today is you're not going to need to put that much money. You could put in as low as $5, you can put in $500, whatever works for you. You're going to be able to do that with our example here today, because that is really important in the process of investing. Put in what you can, and you're going to have small portions of the ownership of these funds. Now, there are tons of different investing apps that you can utilize when it comes to investing in the S&P 500. And there's a couple that I personally love to use when it comes to this YouTube channel. And one that we're going to be going over here today is actually going to be with Acorns. Now, Acorns itself is going to be probably the simplest way to be investing your money. Now, it's not going to be for everybody, but if you're somebody who's like, hey, I don't want to pay attention to this on a day-to-day basis, this is going to be one of the options for you. Now, if you do want a little bit more of an intermediate version of an app, I'll have a link in the show notes down below for another version of the same video, but for that particular app. Okay, so here on Acorns, there's a couple things we want to talk about. First and foremost, this is honestly one of the best beginner investing apps I've ever personally used, and I recommend this to anybody that comes and talks to me and asks me about which one I would recommend, because this is so simple and so easy for you. Now, one thing I do want to mention is there are fees to utilizing Acorns, but I personally think it's worth the cost if it gets you into the door to investing. And if later you want to switch apps, you can always do that as well. Now, I will have a link to Acorns in the show notes down below for you to go ahead and get started. That link will actually get you a $20 bonus, and it does help us out so we can continue to make more free content just like this. All right, so I want to show you what this all looks like here on Acorns. You can see in this account I actually invest in this portfolio here, so I can show you guys what this all looks like. You can see our investment is sitting at $1,463, and we put in $20 on a weekly basis. Now, remember, I mentioned earlier, you can put in any amount that works best for you, even though you saw that total dollar amount per investing into the ETF was $559. Now, another thing I did want to quickly mention on that too was that you might notice other funds that mimic the S&P 500 are at different price points, and not having to get into too crazy of what that all means. It pretty much means the same thing as far as putting your money in. Even if one seems more expensive than the other, it's all effectively the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you how this is being invested in this account for the S&P 500. We're going to click on our investment. By the way, I will also have a full guided tutorial for using Acorns to set this all up for you one-on-one, but we're going to also show you right over here. This is the portfolio, and you can see where it says stock ETFs and it says 4 ETFs. If we toggle this down, you're going to see that VOO ticker right over here for us, and we're going to click on here and see that is the exact same fund If I swap over my tab that we saw here earlier, same price point, of course, and everything. And so that's where some of our money is going. Now, it's not all of it because the way we chose to invest in our Acorns account, it's actually split up between 4 different ETFs. So you can see we're a little bit more diversified in this portfolio, but we got the majority of this going into the S&P 500. Now, when you set up your Acorns account, it's going to ask you what your risk tolerance is. Are you conservative when it comes to your finances? Are you aggressive when it comes to your finances, or somewhere in between? And that's going to dictate how much of that percentage is going to go into VOO, which is the S&P 500, and some of these other funds. And what's great about this is once you set everything up, I haven't gone in here and messed with anything else except for just looking at my account with that $20 every single Monday. And let me go ahead and show you what this looks like if I go to a year marker, because it's just a tiny bit over a year here. You can see we gained over 10% on our money for having just invested and not done anything else. And this is going to compound for us over the years, so much so that Acorns actually kind of gives us a little bit of a heads up. And I'm going to close this off here for you. And we're going to go to where you see reoccurring down here. And I'm going to show you how much of an impact this actually has. So let's just go ahead and say that I'm going to go and jump this up to $25 a week. You saw on the top right here, it shows me what my potential is going to be as an addition for that extra $5 a week. And that might encourage you to say, well, what does it look like if I do $35 a week? And then you can click up here and it'll actually show you what that's going to look like over the course of years, how much you actually invested, and what is the actual return that you're going to get. Obviously, these are all hypotheticals, but that is going to be for you, especially for somebody like that doesn't really want to pay attention on a day-to-day basis how their funds are actually doing, and they just want to put their money into their account. Now, I jumped over here into the risk area, which I kind of explained a little bit earlier. And you can see as I toggle through the different risk levels, this is going to change up how this all looks. But because we're in the aggressive, that's where it's going to be investing the majority into the S&P 500 fund. So that way you can be investing into the top 500 companies in the US. So back over here in the recurring deposits, once you have your Acorns account set up, pretty much all you're going to do is just come in here and tell it how much you want to be investing. Now, we have it on a weekly basis, but you can also be investing on a monthly basis, bi-weekly, if that's when you get paid. And then you could put in whatever amount works best for you. And then you can come in and change it, maybe add more as you increase your pay and come in here and change it all up. Now you could put $100, you could put whatever works best for you. And you can see on that top right again, how much you are potentially going to be getting because you're investing into the S&P 500 altogether. Now, like I mentioned, I will have a link for you in the show notes down below to go ahead and open up your Acorns account, get to that right landing page to sign up. You're going to get that $20 bonus using our link, which does help us out and make more free content just like this. And speaking of free content, I'm going to actually show you how to fully set up your Acorns account on the back end so you can be investing in the S&P 500 just like this. That video is going to be right over here on screen for you, so you can click right now to go check it out.